Have you ever felt like you're invisible in a world that's always watching? Like no matter how kind, loyal, or genuine you are, people keep their distance. No real friendships, no romantic relationship, just this constant sense of being set apart. Let me tell you something. This isn't a punishment. It's a preparation. Because the truth is, chosen ones walk alone not because they're unloved, but because their path is sacred. And not everyone is allowed to walk it with you. This loneliness you feel, it's not ordinary. It's spiritual. It's divine. From the moment you were marked as different, from the moment your soul agreed to a higher purpose, before you ever entered this life, the isolation began. You were never meant to blend in. That's why the people around you often misunderstand you. That's why you feel more connected to silence than to small talk. That's why you'd rather sit in your own energy than in rooms where your spirit is not respected. Most people are chasing relationships, friendships, validation, but you're being called to chase something else: alignment. And that's why the people you meet don't stay. They're not meant to. You've probably had moments where someone entered your life, and for a second, you thought, finally, someone who sees me. But slowly they began to drift. Or worse, they betrayed you. Why? Because when your light exposes their shadows, they retreat. They can't stand in the presence of someone who refuses to wear a mask. And deep down, you've known this for a long time. That your walk would be different. That your story wouldn't look like the average person's. While others were building friend groups and falling in love, you were being stripped, pulled away, put into divine solitude. And that solitude has a purpose. See, chosen ones don't go through normal lessons. You go through spiritual initiations, the kind of trials that break you down to your bones, so that what's fake can fall away and what's real can rise. Friendships that vanish overnight, lovers that disappear without warning, loneliness so intense it feels like the walls are closing in. All of that isn't random. It's a fire meant to refine you, not destroy you. Because if you weren't alone, you'd be distracted. You'd settle. You'd pour into people who were never meant to carry your spirit. God removes people not to punish you, but to protect you, to clear the path for what's truly aligned. And right now, it might feel like nothing's happening, like you're just waiting for that real friend, that real partner, that one soul who finally gets it. But in that waiting, you're being shaped. The reason you don't have friends is because your spirit is rare, and rare things don't gather in crowds. You've likely tried to force connections before. You've tried to be more relatable, more social, more normal. But the moment you did, your energy felt off. You were exhausted, uncomfortable, disconnected from your own truth. Because that's not who you are. You were not born to shrink yourself just to be accepted by people who can't even recognize your soul. And relationships, let's be honest, you've probably gone through heartbreak after heartbreak. People who said all the right things but never had the capacity to love you fully, because you carry something divine. And not everyone is spiritually awake enough to handle that. It's not that you're too much, it's that they're too asleep. And your energy wakes them up to parts of themselves they've been running from. There's a reason why the room gets quiet when you walk in, why people stare, why some envy you without knowing your story. It's spiritual. Your energy speaks before you do. And that kind of presence makes people either love you or resent you. There's rarely an in-between. But here's the truth. The more you accept this solitude, the more powerful you become. The more you embrace your separation, the more clearly you hear your calling. Because the wilderness is not a curse. It's where the chosen are trained. Moses wasn't called while surrounded by people. He was called in isolation. Jesus wasn't empowered in a crowd. He was empowered in the desert. The prophets weren't loud in public. They were silent in caves, talking to God when no one else was listening. So why would your journey be any different? This is where your strength is being built. This is where your discernment is being sharpened. You're learning to hear the voice of God without noise. You're learning to rely on your own intuition without external validation. You're learning to sit with your own spirit and not fear what rises to the surface. And that kind of inner mastery, that's rare. Because most people avoid being alone. They rush into anything that fills the silence. But not you. You're being called to something deeper, something higher. And that requires solitude. That requires becoming so grounded in your identity that even when you have no one, you still know who you are. So yes, right now, you may be walking alone. You may not have a circle. You may not have someone holding your hand at night or texting you good morning. But don't let that fool you into thinking something's wrong with you. The emptiness is not evidence of your failure. It's proof of your elevation. You are rising, and not everyone can rise with you. You might be wondering, when is it my time? When will I be seen, loved, chosen? And I need you to understand this. You've already been chosen. That's why you've been set apart. That's why the crowd rejected you. That's why people couldn't stay. Because you carry a purpose that would have been diluted if you tried to carry everyone with you. God knows your heart. God knows the way you love, how deeply you feel, how loyal you are, how much you crave connection that's real. And because of that, He's not going to send you people who pretend. He's not going to allow you to settle for halfway love. You've been through too much to entertain what's fake. So if it's lonely right now, breathe. Trust it. Let it teach you. Let it strip away the last pieces of who you were so you can step into who you're becoming. This is a spiritual process. You are not abandoned. You are being aligned. The right people, the right love, the divine connections. They're not missing you. They're being prepared for you, just like you're being prepared for them. And when they finally arrive, you'll understand why no one else worked out, why every friend faded, why every relationship fell apart. It wasn't rejection. It was redirection. You were being pulled away from distractions and pushed toward your destiny. Now here's what most people will never understand. This silence around you, this divine disconnection. It's God's way of creating space. Because if you were still surrounded by distractions, you'd miss the real thing when it comes. When something holy is sent your way, it requires room. Room in your spirit, room in your environment, room in your heart. That's why everything that doesn't serve you had to fall apart first. That's why the people who drained you had to leave. You didn't lose them. You outgrew them. You see, when you are truly chosen, you become dangerous to anything that's fake, anything that's shallow, anything that lives in pretense. Your presence forces truth, and most people aren't ready to face theirs. They prefer relationships that are convenient, not deep. Friendships that are surface level, not soul-tied. But you crave real. And that craving automatically disqualifies 99% of the world. But here's where the shift begins. As your inner world becomes whole, your outer world begins to align. You start attracting not what you want, but what matches your healed frequency. And this is why the loneliness had to happen first. Because if God sent you the right people too soon, you would have rejected them out of fear, or worse, tried to fit them into the old version of you that no longer exists. That's why the silence has been loud. That's why it's felt like nobody sees you. Because God needed you to see yourself first, to love yourself enough that you no longer accept crumbs from tables you were never meant to sit at. You had to learn to sit with your own soul until it stopped screaming for company. You had to learn to enjoy your own presence before anyone else could honor it. And yes, it gets hard. There are nights the silence feels like it's echoing. Days when the loneliness feels unbearable. You watch others fall in love, build friendships, find their person. And it makes you wonder, why not me? But the answer isn't because you are unworthy. It's because what's coming for you requires more maturity, more clarity, more spiritual preparation, the kind of love, the kind of tribe, the kind of connection destined for you. It doesn't show up until the soil is ready. You are the soil, and you've been in a season of being tilled, broken, torn apart, but not to destroy you, to soften you, to make room for the seeds that only divine timing can plant. Seeds of soul-aligned friendships, seeds of sacred relationships, seeds of purpose-based partnerships. But here's the thing. Those seeds won't grow in shallow ground. They need depth, and you've got it. Your pain gave you depth. Your isolation gave you roots. And when those connections finally bloom, they will not come with confusion. They won't drain you. They won't ghost you. They won't require you to perform or prove. They will see you, feel you, understand you on a spiritual level, because they were prepared just like you. Their path was lonely too. Their heart was trained too. And when you meet, it will feel less like a beginning and more like a remembering, as if your soul finally found its reflection.